Welcome to the retail jungle, where the customer is always right even when they are completely delusional. We are exposing 61 real people who walked into a store and chose violence against the minimum wage staff. From returning picked clean chicken bones to bringing back a dead tree in January, the audacity here is absolutely unhinged. These folks honestly believe a receipt is a permission slip for insanity. Let's get into the madness. 1. A furious woman marched up to the counter and slammed down a greasy plastic box that rattled with the sound of a hollow skeleton. She screamed that she demanded her money back right now for this defective dinner. The poor teen behind the register stared at the completely clean chicken bones that looked like they had been scrubbed. He asked her what could possibly be wrong since she clearly enjoyed the entire bird. She slammed her hand on the desk and shouted that the meat fell off the bone way too easily, which made her suspicious. She explained. She had to eat every single bite just to make sure it wasn't poisonous while the crowd watched in silence. 2. An angry old man kicked the automatic doors open and dragged a massive brown fire hazard across the clean white floor. It was the middle of January and he was leaving a trail of dead brittle needles everywhere he walked. He hoisted the dead carcass of the Douglas fir onto the counter and demanded a manager immediately. The confused associate asked why on earth he was returning a Christmas tree 3 weeks after the holiday. The old man slammed his fist down and insisted the tree was broken because it stopped smelling like fresh pine yesterday. He told them he paid for a permanent cent and refused to leave without a full cash refund for the defective plant. 3. A frantic man shoved a heavy cardboard box onto the high counter. It was a massive gray tube television. It was clearly from the early 2000s. He was sweating profusely from hauling the antique weight across the parking lot. He shouted that he bought this high-definition system just last week. The cashier wiped a thick layer of dust off the curved screen. She pointed out the manufacturing date was older than she was. He ignored her facts completely. He screamed that he lost the receipt but demanded store credit immediately. His main complaint was that the smart features were broken. He told the whole line that this garbage box refused to connect to his Wi-Fi. It would not play Netflix no matter how hard he hit the plastic side. 4. A furious Karen stomped up to the service desk, clutching a digital bathroom scale like a weapon. She slammed it down so hard the batteries fell out on the floor. She announced to the entire store that this device was intentionally gaslighting her. The associate asked if the screen was cracked or fading. She yelled that the machine was a liar. She insisted it added exactly 15 pounds every single time she stepped on it. She claimed her doctor had a nicer scale that told the truth about her weight. The line behind her tried not to laugh at the scene. She demanded a full refund for the emotional damage this lying robot caused her morning routine. 5. A nervous young man slid a taped-up Lego box across the counter. He refused to make eye contact with the employee. He claimed he opened the box and found a manufacturing error inside. The skeptical manager cut the tape and dumped the contents on the desk. A gallon of raw, uncooked macaroni noodles spilled everywhere. The man didn't even blink at the mess. He argued that this was the rare Italian Chef limited edition set. He insisted the store sold it to him exactly like this. He said he just wanted his money back so he could buy the Star Wars set instead. The manager just stared at the pasta pile in silence. The audacity was truly impressive. 6. A suspicious woman placed a plastic gallon of milk on the conveyor belt. The seal was clearly broken. The liquid looked remarkably clear. She crossed her arms and waited for her $3 back. The cashier opened the cap and sniffed the contents. It was obviously straight tap water from a bathroom sink. The woman slammed her hand on the counter. She shouted that the cow must have been extremely hydrated that day. She said the milk tasted thin and watery, which was unacceptable for the price. She refused to admit she drank the milk and refilled the jug. She threatened to call corporate about the hydration levels of the dairy cows. She grabbed her receipt and stormed off. 7. A shivering man in a thick parka dragged a dirty window air conditioner unit into the store. It was covered in 6 months of dust and dead bugs. He demanded a full refund because the machine was hurting his home. The employee pointed out that it was currently snowing outside. The man screamed that the unit was defective because it was making his house too cold now. He argued that an appliance should know when to stop working. He said he only needed it for July and now it was useless furniture. The staff tried to explain seasons to him. He just kept shivering and pointing at the return policy sign. He refused to leave until he got his cash. 8. A sharp-dressed businessman threw a sleek laptop box onto the return desk. He looked deeply offended by the quality of the technology. He told the associate the computer was too heavy and slow. The associate opened the box to check the serial number. Inside the foam padding sat a literal dirty paving brick taped to the center. The man gasped loudly. He swore on his life that he never opened the box until he got home. He claimed the factory must have made a mistake on the assembly line. He demanded a new laptop immediately. The security guard walked over to admire the brick while the man continued his performance. He threatened to sue for the mix-up. 9. A construction worker tossed a crumpled package of underwear onto the counter. The bag was ripped open and one pair was completely missing. The other two were balled up and looked suspiciously worn. The cashier recoiled in horror and put on gloves. The man shouted that he wore them for a single 12-hour shift. He complained that they rode up way too much during his lunch break. He said they were not built for a working man's body. He tried to show the cashier the fabric defect on the pair he was holding. The manager stepped in and told him to please keep his laundry to himself. The refund was denied instantly. 10. An exhausted mom slammed a 1,000-piece puzzle box on the counter. The picture on the front was a vast blue ocean with a clear blue sky. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She screamed that this product was a scam designed to drive people crazy. The employee asked if pieces were missing. She yelled that it was a manufacturing error because every single piece looked exactly the same. She dumped the blue cardboard pieces on the desk to prove her point. She claimed there was no way to tell the sky from the water. She demanded a refund for the headache this blue nightmare gave her family. She left the pieces scattered everywhere. 11. A furious woman slammed a cardboard cake box onto the counter. One single slice was missing from the corner. She screamed that her entire birthday party was ruined by colorblindness. The bakery manager opened the lid to reveal a perfectly fine blue cake. The woman pointed a manicured finger at the frosting. She shouted that she specifically asked for Caribbean blue. She yelled that this was clearly sky blue. She claimed her guests laughed at her because of this disaster. She insisted that she had to eat a slice just to test if the flavor was also wrong. She demanded a full refund for the emotional distress of the wrong hue. 12. An agitated man threw a mangled metal chain onto the service desk. He was shaking with rage. He yelled that the packaging was a complete lie. The clerk looked at the empty chain and asked where the actual bird feeder was. The man screamed that the squirrels formed a tactical team and stole it. He claimed he watched them coordinate the heist from his window. He insisted the box said squirrel-proof. He demanded his money back for the stolen property. He said the squirrels were mocking him from the trees with his premium seeds. He wanted to sue the manufacturer for false advertising and aiding the enemy. 13. A groom in a tuxedo vest slammed a high-definition projector onto the counter. It was Monday morning. He looked hungover and tired. He shouted that the fan was defective and too loud. The associate checked the purchase date, which was just last Friday. The man insisted he couldn't hear the toasts during his reception. He quickly corrected himself and said he meant he couldn't hear the movie. He wiped some confetti off the lens. He claimed it ruined his viewing experience. He demanded a full refund because he definitely didn't just use it for a free wedding rental. He refused to make eye contact with the staff. 14. A young mother marched up to the desk holding a plastic grocery bag at arm's length. The smell hit the queue before she did. She slammed a pack of open diapers on the counter. She screamed that these were defective because they leaked everywhere. The cashier apologized and started the return process. The woman shouted that she didn't believe the cashier understood the gravity of the situation. She reached into her bag and pulled out a fully loaded used diaper. She tried to hand it to the horrified teenager as proof. Security had to step in immediately. She insisted they needed to weigh it to see the failure. 15. A messy teenager tossed a video game case onto the return pile. He was licking orange dust off his fingers. He complained that the disc was skipping during the important cutscenes. The employee opened the case and gasped. The disc was coated in a thick layer of bright orange cheesy powder. It was also covered in deep scratches. The teen shrugged and said the laser must be weak. He claimed the game came out of the box smelling like cheese. He demanded a cash refund so he could buy snacks. He refused to admit he used the disc as a coaster for his lunch. The audacity was incredible. 16. An elderly woman placed a shiny 4-slice toaster on the counter. She looked very disappointed in modern technology. She told the associate that this machine was broken. She explained that it toasted the bread side of her bagel perfectly. She paused for dramatic effect. She shouted that it failed to toast the crust side at all. The confused employee tried to explain how physics works. The woman refused to listen to science. She insisted her old toaster from the 70s cooked the entire circle evenly. She demanded a refund for the half-cooked breakfast. She said she would go back to using her oven broiler. 17. A camper dragged a muddy nylon bag into the store. It smelled like a stagnant swamp. He dropped it with a wet splat on the clean floor. He yelled that this outdoor shelter was a scam. He claimed he went camping and it rained for 2 days. He was furious that the inside of the tent got wet. The associate asked if he closed the rainfly properly. The man screamed that tents are supposed to be magic bubbles. He insisted that nature should not be able to get inside. He demanded a refund because he woke up in a puddle. He wrung out the fabric on the counter. 18. A paranoid man slid a smart speaker across the desk using a long stick. He refused to touch the device with his bare hands. He whispered to the cashier that the machine was possessed. He claimed it whispered his name while he was trying to sleep. The employee asked if he had set an alarm by mistake. The man shook his head violently. He insisted the government was listening to his dreams through the plastic mesh. He demanded it be removed from his house immediately. He wanted his money back in cash only. He looked at the security camera and put on his sunglasses. 19. A vacationer threw a neon bikini bottom onto the counter. She looked tan and angry. She shouted that the fabric was completely defective. The cashier picked up the item and sand poured out onto the register keys. The woman complained that the suit chafed her while she was at the beach. She insisted that a high-quality swimsuit should repel sand automatically. She claimed she had to leave the ocean early because of the discomfort. She demanded a full refund for her ruined holiday. She said the sand was embedded in the liner and refused to come out. She acted like sand was a manufacturing defect. 20. An upset lady slammed a packet of glossy photographs on the photo lab counter. She was almost in tears. She pointed at the top photo and screamed that the machine was broken. The clerk looked at the picture of the woman standing in a park. It looked perfectly clear and sharp. The woman yelled that she looked terrible in every single shot. She insisted the printer needs a better beauty filter. She claimed the camera added 20 pounds to her face. She demanded her money back for the unflattering images. She refused to pay for pictures that didn't make her look like a movie star. 21. A sweaty man slammed a wet plastic bag onto the counter. It splashed water everywhere. He demanded a refund for defective merchandise immediately. The clerk looked at the bag of lukewarm tap water in confusion. The man screamed that he bought a bag of ice 3 hours ago. He explained he left it in his trunk while he went to the movies. He was furious that the solid cubes had turned into liquid. He insisted the packaging was faulty because it let the cold out. He shouted that ice should stay frozen regardless of physics. He wanted his $2 back. 22. A homeowner marched in carrying a heavy paint can. He slammed it down and popped the lid with a screwdriver. The can was almost entirely empty except for a dried crust. He yelled that the color was false advertising. He claimed it dried way darker on his walls than it looked in the can. The associate asked why he used the whole gallon if the color was wrong. He shouted that he had to paint the entire room just to be sure. He demanded a full refund for the paint and his wasted time. The nerve was truly astounding. 23. A terrified woman pushed a scorched microwave across the service desk. The inside smelled like an electrical fire. She screamed that the machine tried to kill her. The employee opened the door and saw melted aluminum foil stuck to the ceiling. The woman admitted she put her frozen burrito in the wrapper like she always does. She yelled that the microwave attacked her with lightning bolts. She insisted she never had to unwrap food before. She demanded a safer model that doesn't explode when you cook metal. She threatened to sue for emotional distress caused by her hot lunch. 24. A sleepy man tossed two disgusting pillows onto the clean counter. They were flat and stained a deep yellow color from years of sweat. The cashier took a step back to avoid the smell. The man complained that they lost their fluffiness. He admitted he bought them 2 years ago. He pointed at the packaging that said lifetime guarantee. He shouted that his lifetime was not over yet, so he deserved new ones. He insisted that the yellow stains were just natural wear and tear. He refused to leave until he got fresh pillows for his neck. 25. A trembling young woman slid a DVD case across the counter. It was a famous slasher movie known for gore. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. She whispered that she wanted her money back because the product was defective. The clerk asked if the disc skipped. She shook her head and said the movie was too scary. She screamed that she couldn't sleep for 2 days. She argued that the store shouldn't sell things that give people nightmares. She demanded a refund for the trauma. She said the cover art didn't warn her about the scary clowns. 26. A serious man placed a sliced watermelon on the scale. Half of it was already eaten. He wiped sticky juice off his hands. He told the associate that he was very disappointed in the fruit's performance. He explained that when he tapped it at home, it didn't make the right thump sound. He insisted that a good melon has a specific acoustic quality. He admitted it tasted fine, but the sound was all wrong. He demanded a refund for the sonic failure. He said he couldn't enjoy the fruit knowing it was tonally deaf. The line was confused. 27. A sweaty dad pushed a lawnmower right up to the return desk. The blades were caked with thick green grass and mud. The wheels were stained green. He wiped his forehead and said he wanted to make an exchange. The employee pointed out the machine had clearly been used to cut a whole lawn. The man shrugged and said he finished his yard and realized he made a mistake. He shouted that he didn't like walking that much. He demanded full credit so he could upgrade to a riding mower. He treated the store like a free rental service. 28. An elderly lady slammed a wireless router onto the counter. She was wearing gardening gloves. She screamed that this device was a health hazard. She claimed the internet was leaking out of the box. She told the confused tech guy that her houseplants near the router were dying. She insisted the invisible Wi-Fi waves were poisoning her ferns. She demanded a refund and a router that keeps the internet inside the plastic. She said she could feel the data dripping on her floor. She refused to listen to any technical explanation about how radio waves work. 29. A frustrated woman threw a pair of denim jeans at the cashier. She was red in the face. She shouted that the clothing industry was gaslighting her. She pointed at the tag which said size 4. She insisted she has been a size 4 since high school. She yelled that these jeans wouldn't zip up, so they must be mislabeled. She claimed they were actually a size 0 in disguise. She demanded a refund for the manufacturing error. She refused to try on the size 6. She said the store was trying to make her feel fat on purpose. 30. An angry art teacher dumped a pack of glue sticks on the desk. Every single orange cap was missing. The glue was rock hard and useless. She screamed that the product quality was garbage. She admitted she left them on the craft table overnight without the lids. She argued that good glue should stay sticky, even when exposed to air. She insisted it was a chemical failure. She demanded a fresh pack for her class. She said the company should know that kids lose caps. She wanted a refund for her own negligence. The audacity was pure art. 31. A red-faced man sprinted to the service desk, clutching a plastic produce bag. He was chugging a gallon of milk from the shelf. He slammed a half-eaten orange habanero pepper on the counter. He screamed that the store was trying to poison him. He claimed he bought these thinking they were cute mini bell peppers for a salad. He took one massive bite and his mouth caught on fire. He yelled that vegetables should not hurt people. He demanded a refund and a warning label on all spicy plants. He insisted that the pepper looked too innocent to be that dangerous. He was sweating bullets. 32. A confused homeowner dragged a green garden hose onto the floor. It was cut cleanly in the middle. He told the associate he needed a replacement immediately. The clerk asked why the hose was in 2 pieces. The man explained it was too long for his patio, so he fixed it with scissors. He screamed that now water just squirts out of the open end. He argued that the hose should seal itself like magic. He demanded his money back for the defective rubber. He insisted he was a victim of poor engineering. The line behind him was stunned by his lack of logic. 33. A businessman dropped a heavy paper shredder onto the service desk. It was making a dying grinding noise. He shouted that the box lied to him. He pointed at the slogan that said it shreds everything. He admitted he shoved a thick stack of cardboard and 3 titanium credit cards into the slot. He screamed that the machine choked on his financial secrets. He insisted that everything means absolutely everything, including metal. He demanded a full cash refund for the liar machine. He told them he had more credit cards to destroy. He refused to accept he broke it with his own hands. 34. A frantic swimmer slammed a box of bandages on the counter. She held up her wrinkled finger to show a small scrape. She screamed that the packaging was false advertising. She claimed she went swimming at the community pool for 4 straight hours. She was furious that the adhesive finally gave up and fell off. She yelled that waterproof means it should stay on forever even underwater. She demanded a refund because her cut got wet. She insisted the company owed her a medical apology. She refused to believe that glue dissolves eventually. The pharmacist just stared blankly at her finger. 35. An emotional reader slammed a paperback novel onto the desk. The spine was cracked and page 200 had a coffee stain. She demanded her money back for emotional trauma. The clerk asked if pages were missing. The woman screamed that the ending was unacceptable. She spoiled the plot for everyone in line by shouting that the main character died. She argued that she paid for a happy ending and didn't get one. She insisted she shouldn't have to pay for sadness. She demanded a rewrite or a refund. She said the author owed her an explanation for the tragedy. 36. A sobbing child led by a furious father marched up to the pet department. The dad slammed a bag of cloudy water onto the counter. A lifeless goldfish floated at the top. The man demanded a replacement fish immediately. The associate explained they only have a 3-day guarantee. The father screamed that he expected a 90-day warranty on livestock. He argued that the fish was defective because it didn't survive the car ride home. He insisted they sold him a lemon. He demanded a refund for the tank and the gravel too. The fish did not move an inch. 37. A suspicious grill master heaved a propane tank onto the return desk. He narrowed his eyes at the cashier. He claimed he was being scammed by the gas company. He shouted that this exchange tank felt lighter than the empty one he brought in. He insisted the store sold him a tank full of air. The employee tried to explain the weight of liquid gas. The man refused to listen to physics. He screamed that he knew what 20 pounds felt like. He demanded they fill it up until it was heavy. He threatened to weigh it himself on the bathroom scale. 38. A confused teenager threw a plastic phone case wrapper on the counter. He held up his large Samsung Galaxy phone. He shouted that the case was completely broken. He showed the clerk that the iPhone 15 Pro Max case did not fit his Android device. The clerk pointed out the brand name on the box. The teen argued that all phones are the same size, basically. He screamed that the packaging was misleading because it was near the electronics aisle. He demanded a refund for the discrimination against his phone. He insisted the case should stretch to fit his device. 39. A construction worker clomped up to the desk, leaving muddy footprints. He threw a pair of destroyed work boots onto the clean counter. They were covered in dried concrete and mud. He screamed that the tread wore down way too fast. He admitted he had worn them every single day for a year. He yelled that he slipped on a wet floor yesterday. He insisted that boots should last a lifetime. He demanded a fresh pair because these were now dangerous. He refused to clean them before returning them. The smell was overpowering the entire customer service area. 40. A reckless cyclist carried a bicycle wheel that was bent into a perfect taco shape. He slammed the mangled metal onto the service desk. He screamed that the bike was made of cheap tin foil. The associate asked what happened. The man admitted he rode off a high concrete curb at full speed. He shouted that the rim should have bounced. He insisted that mountain bikes are invincible tanks. He demanded a new wheel and a verbal apology. He claimed the sidewalk was the real problem. He refused to accept gravity caused the damage. The metal was totally ruined. 41. A health-conscious woman marched to the counter gasping for air. She slammed a bottle of open multivitamins down hard. She screamed that the store was trying to suffocate her. She poured the large tablets onto the desk to show their size. She yelled that she almost choked to death this morning. She insisted these were horse pills meant for farm animals. She demanded to exchange them for the gummy version. Immediately, she claimed swallowing solid objects was a safety hazard. She wanted a refund for the near-death experience. She refused to leave until she got her candy vitamins. 42. A mechanic in greasy coveralls lugged a heavy car battery onto the pristine counter. A giant crack was running down the side. Acid was slowly leaking onto the conveyor belt. He shouted that the casing was made of glass. He admitted he hit a deep pothole while the battery was loose in his trunk. He yelled that it just split open on impact. He insisted that batteries should be indestructible projectiles. He demanded a fresh one for free. He refused to pay for the damage he caused by driving recklessly. The acid began to eat the counter surface. 43. A sleep-deprived man gingerly placed a digital alarm clock on the service desk. He looked like he had seen a ghost. He whispered that the beeping was too aggressive. He claimed the sound gave him severe anxiety. Every morning he screamed that waking up should be a gentle experience. He insisted the clock was bullying him into getting out of bed. He demanded a full refund for the emotional abuse he wanted to trade it for. That whispers compliments. He said the current noise sounded like a bomb countdown. He refused to touch it again. 44. A giggling woman tossed a used electric toothbrush onto the return pile. The bristles were wet and mashed. She told the confused associate that she physically could not use it. She explained that the vibration tickled her gums way too much. She screamed that she burst into uncontrollable laughter every time she brushed. She insisted it was a torture device disguised as hygiene. She demanded her money back for the dental comedy. She claimed she needed a manual brush that didn't make her cry from laughing. She wiped a tear from her eye while the line stared in silence. 45. A superstitious businessman slammed a pack of blue ballpoint pens on the counter. He looked extremely paranoid. He shouted that the ink was clearly invisible. He claimed he wrote a very important check and the ink vanished. He paused and admitted he actually just lost the check entirely, but he screamed that the pens were cursed with bad luck. He insisted the ink was haunted. He demanded a refund to break the hex. He refused to keep writing instruments that made his money disappear. He looked over his shoulder to make sure the pens weren't following him out. 46. A thirsty woman slammed a plastic water filter pitcher onto the service desk. It was still half full of liquid. She screamed that the filter was completely broken. She claimed she poured tap water in, and it still tasted exactly like water. She yelled that she expected it to taste like premium soda. She insisted that the water felt too wet in her mouth. She demanded a refund for the lack of flavor transformation. She said she wanted a filter that turns hydrogen into sugar. She refused to drink plain hydration ever again. The stupidity was refreshing. 47. A furious motorist rolled 4 completely bald tires into the store lobby. The steel belts were poking out of the rubber. He shouted that these tires were defective trash. The associate asked how many miles he drove on them. The man admitted he drove over 50,000 miles. He screamed that they didn't last long enough. He insisted he only bought them a while ago. He demanded a full set of new tires for free. He claimed the road ate them up too fast. He refused to pay for standard wear and tear. The audacity was absolutely tractionless. 48. An angry home decorator slammed a black soot-covered jar onto the counter. The glass was hot to the touch inside, was absolutely nothing but a tiny wax residue. She screamed that the candle was a manufacturing failure. She pointed to the empty bottom. She yelled that it didn't burn evenly. At the very end, she admitted she burned it for 40 hours straight. She insisted she was owed a new candle because of that last millimeter of wax. She demanded a refund for the scent she already used. She claimed the wick gave up too early. 49. A fitness enthusiast threw a rolled-up yoga mat at the cashier. She was wearing workout clothes and looked sweaty. She shouted that this mat was a death trap. She claimed she was doing downward dog, and her hands slid forward. She admitted she sweats a lot during hot yoga. She screamed that the mat should be glue. She insisted it was a safety hazard for her chakras. She demanded her money back for the slippery foam. She refused to use a towel. Like a normal person, she said the mat rejected her spiritual energy. The logic was a stretch. 50. A disgusted woman held a natural brown sea sponge. With 2 fingers, she dropped it on the counter like it was radioactive. She screamed that the product was spoiled. She claimed she opened the package and it smelled like salt water. The associate explained, "It was a real sponge from the ocean." The woman yelled that she didn't care about nature. She insisted it should smell like French vanilla or lavender. She demanded a refund for the authentic smell. She said she didn't want the ocean in her bathroom. She wanted a synthetic plastic sponge instead. 51. An angry mom dumped a stack of greasy plastic containers on the counter. They were stained a bright neon orange color. She screamed that her kitchen was ruined by this cheap material. She admitted she stored leftover spaghetti in them for a week. She yelled that the tomato sauce permanently dyed the plastic. She insisted that quality containers should repel pasta sauce like magic. She demanded a full refund because they looked dirty now. She claimed she couldn't serve food in orange bowls to her guests. She refused to listen to scrubbing advice. The entitlement was permanently stained on her face. 52. A furious man slammed a jug of bleach and a pair of ruined black pants onto the service desk. He pointed at the massive white splotch on the fabric. He screamed that the chemical was defective. He admitted he spilled the liquid while doing laundry. He yelled that it stripped the color right out of his favorite trousers. He insisted that bleach should clean things without changing their color. He demanded the store pay for his pants and take back the bottle. He claimed the warning label was not big enough. He refused to accept that bleach bleaches things. 53. A disgusted pet owner dragged a heavy vacuum cleaner into the store. The clear canister was packed tight with wet gray sludge. The smell of wet cat litter hit the employee instantly. The man screamed that the machine stunk every time he turned it on. He admitted he vacuumed the litter box directly. He yelled that the vacuum was supposed to clean his house, not smell like a toilet. He insisted the filter was broken. He demanded a brand new machine because this one was contaminated. He refused to clean it out himself. The biohazard was rejected immediately. 54. A traumatized man slid a small medical box across the counter using just his fingertips. He looked incredibly uncomfortable. He whispered that the device was far too invasive. The pharmacist looked at the package for a rectal thermometer. The man screamed that he didn't enjoy the experience at all. He insisted he wanted to exchange it for the ear version immediately. He argued that the box didn't explain the emotional toll of the procedure. He demanded his money back for the violation of his privacy. He refused to make eye contact with anyone. The silence in the line was deafening. 55. A confident woman walked up to the return line with absolutely nothing in her hands. She tapped her smartphone screen on the glass counter. She showed the cashier a blurry photo of a barcode. She screamed that she left the item at home because it was heavy. She insisted that the picture was proof enough of ownership. She demanded they reverse the charge onto her card right now. She argued that bringing the physical object back was old-fashioned. She claimed her time was too valuable to carry boxes. She refused to understand how inventory works. The delusion was digital. 56. A shady customer placed a bottle of premium expensive shampoo on the desk. The seal was broken and the cap was loose. He screamed that the product made his scalp incredibly dry. The manager opened the bottle and sniffed it. It smelled exactly like cheap blue dish detergent. The liquid was thick and neon blue. The man yelled that the factory must have mixed up the formula. He insisted he didn't refill it with kitchen soap to steal the good stuff. He demanded a cash refund for his dandruff. He refused to admit the bubbles were wrong. 57. A weary traveler dragged a massive suitcase on 3 wheels across the floor. The 4th wheel was completely ripped off. He screamed that the store sold him garbage. He admitted the airline baggage handlers threw it onto the tarmac. He yelled that the warranty should cover airport abuse. He insisted that the store was responsible for the luggage handling. He demanded a brand new bag before his next flight. He argued that he bought it here, so they had to fix it. He refused to file a claim with the airline. He wanted immediate retail justice. 58. An observant Senior citizen placed a box of burnt-out light bulbs on the counter. He pointed a shaking finger at the packaging text. It read, "Lasts up to 5 years." He screamed that he bought these exactly 5 years and 1 week ago. He yelled that they all died right on schedule. He insisted that they should last longer than the estimate. He demanded a refund for the false hope. He claimed he expected them to be immortal based on the price. He refused to buy new ones. He wanted the old ones recharged by the manager. 59. A spiritual woman rolled a heavy area rug onto the return desk. She dusted her hands off and looked terrified. She screamed that the carpet was cursed. She claimed her psychic visited her house and sensed negative energy in the fibers. She also added that it made her sneeze. She insisted the rug was haunting her living room. She demanded a full refund to cleanse her home. She argued that she couldn't live with a possessed floor covering. She refused to vacuum it because that would anger the spirits. The cashier just wanted the ghost rug gone. 60. A confused teenager handed the cashier an empty plastic gift card. He scratched his head and looked puzzled. He admitted he spent the entire $50 yesterday. He screamed that he didn't like the snacks he bought. He insisted that the store should reload the card so he could try again. He argued that it was a trial run. He demanded a second chance at shopping. He claimed the first purchase didn't count because he was hungry. He refused to understand that money is a one-time use resource. The logic was completely bankrupt. 61. A bold man walked in from the entrance and went straight to aisle 12. He picked up a massive bag of dog food. He walked directly to the return desk 3 minutes later. He slammed the bag down and demanded store credit. He screamed that he lost his receipt. The security guard watched the entire thing on the monitor. The man insisted he bought it last week. He yelled that his dog hated this flavor. He demanded cash when they refused credit. He refused to admit he was caught red-handed. The police were called to handle the return. And that concludes our deep dive into the absolute bottom of the barrel. It turns out the customer isn't always right. Sometimes they are just hallucinating. If you enjoyed this torture session here on Ridiculous Complaints, please destroy that like button and subscribe before the manager comes back. Turn on those notifications so you never miss the drama. Now, I need to know, what is the single dumbest reason you've ever seen someone return an item? Drop your wildest stories in the comments below. Let's see if you can beat the chicken bone lady. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there.